Hey everybody, welcome back. Calculator on the screen means we're going to get granular in some game mechanics. And this time it's going to be Power Gems. I've been getting interested in Power Gems lately because I've come to the conclusion that I don't care where damage comes from as long as it's enough damage to do the job. The meta is currently multiplied gems and moves that buff gem percent damage. Um, and I don't think that'll ever really change. But there's ways around that, right? There are gem defense medals. We all just did a tour where basically we just maxed out gem defense in order to get through it. Second way, most common way of doing damage is move damage. And there's ways around move damage as well through entourage and medals and straps and stuff like that. To the best of my knowledge, there is not any way around power gem damage. It is damage that comes from, an outside source, so to speak. So as far as I can tell, gem defense doesn't really affect it at all, which is super nice, and can make things relatively easy as long as the card has ways to do relatively easy power gem damage. So we're going to show off 3 cards that shows 3 specific, mechanics of power gems. And we're going to start with the easiest. And the easiest for me right now is Hall of Fame Diamond Dallas Page. Now, a couple disclaimers. In this video, none of the move sets that I'm going to be using are feud ready. They're all tour ready. And some of them aren't even really tour ready. I'm just using it to show off power gems themselves. Okay, so don't take any of these move sets and entourage builds and try to go into feud with them. They won't work. This is just for science. Second, there are some things that I'm going to be ignoring and not talking about. Gear is one of them. I'm not going to talk about gear. I couldn't find anybody with power gem gear, at least with people that can use power gems at a 6-star gold level. There may be some gear on my roster that I've got for old cards that, add 75 damage flat to each power gem. I don't know. I didn't look that far back because they're not meta relevant. Okay, so gear is not going to be a concern. Straps are not going to be a concern. Straps don't do anything to power gem damage. The medals themselves don't do anything to power gem damage. There are some plates that do things based around power gems, but none of them affect power gem damage, so we're not going to talk about them. This is just completely irrelevant to the topic at hand. The one thing that does affect power gem damage is the entourage. All right. So the moveset doesn't matter. Double yellow, black. Really, we're interested in the diamond bomb, which is choose 3 columns, make into power gems of strength 246,133. So 246, 133. And the reason power gems came back into relevance are the turtles. All right. Kofi and Ray. Kofi is 150% more damage on each attack. Ray is 200% more damage on each attack. And there are others. I've got Hall of Fame Nikki right here. Power gems generated will add 50% more damage on each attack. All right. There are others. Alexa Bliss you can fit in here for 25%. There's a flat power gem damage that I'll go over here in a second. And there's some over here too. Shinsuke Nakamura will give you 50% more. And then Striker Taker will give you up to 75% more, depending on how well you have him leveled. So if you want to use power gems and you don't have both of them, well, really don't have Ray, there's still ways around it. And you can still make them pretty decent, just not quite as hard as I'm going to be hitting with them. All right. So over here, we've got 200% from Ray, we got 150 from Kofi, and we got 50 from Nikki. Okay, so that's 400% against this 246, 133. That's the same thing as multiplying by 5. So we can expect that each one of these gems will do 1.3 million damage. Multiply that by 21 because that's how many we're making. 25.843 is going to be the amount of damage you're going to be doing with one swipe or one breaking of the gem. That's what it means, and this is important. That's what it means by damage on each attack. Okay? These don't go into effect until you do an attack, and the game thinks the attack is breaking gems of some sort. Whether you use a move to break gems, whether you use a swipe to break gems, whether or not you use a sub to create a break, right? All of that will trigger the power gems. So when it comes to power gem cards, really you just want to make a bunch of big power gems and then figure out how many attacks you can do before you cede the turn over to your opponent. All right. Divide this by 21. This is what each gem should be doing. Let's get into a match. Big Papa Pump, he's the numbers guy. The math doesn't lie. So that's going to be our punching bag for the rest of the night. So here we're going to place our 3 columns. Doesn't really matter where you place them. And again, this isn't a gameplay video, so I'm going to skip all that. If you look at the damage right here, you're at 1230665. Same as what my calculator's got on it. That means, go back to it, when you do a single swipe, you're going to trigger all 21 of those, and at the very least, we're going to have just shy of 26 million come off the health of our opponent, who's at 66.9. All right. This move here will do 500,000, a little less. So that's going to bring us to 66.5. I'm going to place my 5 match down here at the bottom. No, I'm not. Yikes. Oh, I don't need it to be black. Okay. So I'm going to put it here in the middle. No, I'm not. I'm put it here at the bottom. I'm going to put one right here. Otherwise, SJ is going to yell at me in the comment section. There's 25 million. We're now at 40 on the HP. All right. We can swipe again. Do another 25 million. Almost 26. Brings us to 13.9. And then we're going to hit the finisher, and he's going to be. This is why I like Hall of Fame DDP. Slight cascade risk, yes. He can do roughly, let's just round up and call it 78 million damage turn 1 just from power gems alone. That's gnarly. That's big damage. Okay. And there's no way of countering it. It just goes through. It's fantastic. There are several cards that can do that. I think Hall of Fame Ron does the same thing, kind of. I don't have him, so I'm not too awful familiar with him. But he is one of those cards that Power Gems will really help him out. All right. So the next one we're going to mess around with is a crowd favorite. A lot of people got him during the Scopely snafu, where everybody got a Bradshaw and a Cora Jade and a Trick Liv, and I think somebody else. There was like 4 really common cards that were given away by Scopely screwing up an event. And Bradshaw's been a fan favorite for a long time. I still see questions out into the the WWE Champions universe of, hey, should I take him 6-star gold? I'm not going to answer that question for you because I don't know. I wouldn't personally, but I'm not going to stop you or be mad at you if you did. Okay. The reason I want to talk about him today, though, is he has this cool move, the elbow drop, where you deal some damage and then you increase the strength of your power gems by 568k. His sub creates power gems, what's left on the board, of 568k. All right. This is a flat increase, but it's essentially a double. So let's put this up here, 568. And I think it's flat, if I remember correctly. Okay. We're going to go down here and we're going to load up our entourage. The other thing that we're going to do is we're going to use Riddle. Good old Tech Riddle. Because he does flat gem damage to power gems. And flat gem damage to power gems is... I don't like it. I don't like it a lot. And you'll see why here in a second. So each one of these will do 568k. The way it stands, though, we're getting an extra 350%, right? So that's going to be this multiplied by 4.5. Each one of his power gems will do 2.556, and you add that 13k. It'll be 2.569. There are multiple reasons why I don't really like Bradshaw. The number one is the way you generate your power gems comes from the remaining gems from your sleeper hold. And there's just no way of guaranteeing that it's going to be consistent. Put it there. So that's kind of how you have to start everything off, is with the sub. Nice defensive build, and he will ramp up into damage, and I'll show you here in a second. Now, this gem right here should be, there you go, 2,569,000. All right. Now we're adding 568k to it. All right. The cool thing about the percentage trainers, and why I made a big deal about the fact that it adds damage on attack, is it doesn't affect the base power gem damage at all. Now our gems are up to 5.125 million on a swipe. Okay. That is not double what is on the calculator, because that flat doesn't do the same thing. That flat's still just doing 13k. That's it. So let's take away that 13k, multiply by 2, because both the entourage and the base gem damage gets affected, and then add that 13k back in. We're at that 5.125000. So any wrestler or any card in the game that has a move like this, that has a move where you increase the strength of your power gems, you don't want to use flat whatsoever. And I think Tech Riddle is the only one really that exists out there, and the meta has completely passed him by in every single way. But just for the pure purposes of knowing the game mechanics, it actually doesn't, kind of detracts from this move, because it's still just a flat 13k, where this doubles and you're doing 1.1 something, 1.136, I think. The extra 400% was what gets you to this 5.125. Does that make sense? Yeah, and that's also what makes this move so powerful, and what makes the percentage power gem entourage so powerful. Okay. So if we look down here, we only have 2 left, part of the problem with his game design, but just a swipe is going to do over 10 million damage, regardless of anything else that's going on. And there's no good place to put this down. I'm going to eat up at least one of them. Fantastic. If you're going to take Bradshaw to 6-star gold, this is outside of the science of the video. run any of his other setups. His Power Gem setup, to me, doesn't work. But now I have none left on the board. Theoretically, this setup could ramp, meaning, if you leave enough Power Gems on the board for long enough, they will just increase in size and get kind of massive. But I don't, that's not been my experience. So same deal. We got a bunch more on the board now. That 256 and 9. We're gonna hit this move. Everything turns into 5. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the board. So we're at 30 million alone, just in Power Gems. We can't do. We have to break 1, I think. Yeah. Yep, sure do. So we're gonna do 25 million plus the finisher damage. There we go. Now, provided that all of those Power Gems would have survived his next turn, after our finisher, we could have hit the Power Gem up one more time. 200 or 500 and some odd thousand damage. The Entourage still would have hit off of that alone and would have increased their damage even further. So you can, with both Striker Bradshaw and Striker Batista, you can ramp that Power Gem damage up to an incredible amount as long as they stay on the board. Striker Batista has a Jug Gem setup where the Jug Gems going off increases his Power Gem damage. It works the exact same way as just clicking the move does. The third thing I want to show off is a moment. There are some moments that do affect Power Gem damage. I'm not going to list all of them, but the turtle moment does, and it's universal, and it works for Kofi. The WWE Hall of Fame 2017 moment is universal, and it hits Hall of Fame DDP. The Heartbreaking Manager moment catches Striker Bam Bam. It's a feud only, and then the Acolytes win the Tag Team Championship. It helps Bradshaw, and it's a feud only moment. The moments work basically exactly like the Entourage does. By basically, I mean exactly. So I'll show you here. I'm going to use a little bit different of a setup for Kofi. Since I can't put Kofi on Kofi, I have to use Taker. I'm going to use Ray and Nikki. The gameplay here is going to be really rough because this is not a very setup. But his moves are Power Gems at 357, 588. Okay. You're going to get 100% from the moment itself. Power Gems generated at 100%. And then you're going to catch 60 and 50 is 110, plus 200 is 310. So 410, which means it's 357 multiplied by 5. Each Power Gem is going to do 1,823,699 damage based on the way Scopely rounds, which is, in this case, typical rounding stuff. So the moments act like the Entourage does because of the wording generated on each attack, and it's 100%. It's not a flat. All right. Let's drop all of those. There we go. 1.823, 699. We go over here and multiply it by 14. That means one swipe is going to do 25.5 million damage. Let's do 25.5 million damage. Oh, and a cascade. Did 28. Solid. Hey, turn 1. Let's go. I wasn't really expecting that. So that's power gems. You can't stop power gems. That's why they're so fun. That's why everybody loves them. You just throw down gems, and every swipe turns into millions and millions and millions of damage. Now there is a couple of peccadillos here, right? If you noticed, every base gem damage of all the power gems were at least like 250,000. I think the lowest I had was DDP, but he makes so many of them, and we had the entourage boosting them up by 400%, that, you know, he was doing 25 million per turn. There are cards out there with power gems that are not that stout. Let's see if I can find one right. And it, you know, basically, if they're not 200 to 250, and able to run both Kofi and Ray, which is essentially a 5 times multiplier. So you take the power gem damage, multiply it by 5 if you have Kofi and Ray on them. You basically have to be at 200 to 250,000 damage in order for it to mean literally anything. You know, so the many faces of Foley, he's got power gems of strength 65, 630, right? Multiply that by 5, 328. He's making 10 of them. 3.2 million. Ain't enough. That's nowhere close. So, you know, anything under 100,000, even 100,000 is pretty tough. 100,000 multiplied by 5. There you go. Let's say you only make 10 of them. That's 5 million. You know, let's say you make 20 of them. It's 10 million. Not enough. And that's where power gems get tricky. You know, you can see this cool little power gem logo, but unless those power gems are cranked up 200, 250,000 at its base at the very beginning, they're worthless. You can't really do much with them. So, right now, off the top of my head, it's Hall of Fame DDP, Batista, Bradshaw, Kofi, Striker Bam Bam could do it. Hall of Fame Ron is a great power gem card. And then the new Dom, which also has a moment which increases power gem damage. So, you know, those are, I think, maybe the 6 that can use power gems the right way that I can think of off the top of my head. I'm sure there's 1 or 2 more, but I don't know. That's it. That's how power gems work. At least to the best of my knowledge. If you've learned anything today, if you've been entertained by anything today, or if you just happen to like the sound of my voice, do me a favor, click the like button, click subscribe, share to your faction mates, and I'll talk to you next time. Like.